Greetings everyone, Corey here, and time for round two of our double feature. So earlier I saw Missing Link, and now it's time to get a little more mature. Uh, Went to go see Hellboy, the new non Del Toro version of it. Not even I don't even remember who directed it, but yeah. So this is a R-rated Hellboy, which granted, if you read the comics and stuff, you can kind of see. Yeah, it's a little bit more. Um, it's a little more fitting to its original origins in the comics because the comics do get a little gory and stuff, but because of the art style, it doesn't feel as gory as if it was in a different style, like if it was like in a traditional comic book style. It would definitely be very gory, if not, R, even maybe even X-rated, really, as far as the gore and the violence and blood. But because of that style, it stylizes it kind of like how Sin City, stylizes its black and white, but also splashes of color here and there. Um, Hellboy the comic has a very angular style, very flat, style. So it works. But man, seeing this movie, I honestly wasn't sure how well it was gonna be. It At first I wasn't looking forward to it. Then I started seeing more and more previews and just I started getting some hopes up that it'll at least be decent and it wouldn't be a complete dumpster fire. This last day, there were some really bad reviews. I think it was like at 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, from like 55 reviews. I think those are critic reviews, granted, of course. So I don't really, critic reviews are completely different from user reviews. But still, it's like 18% with the critics isn't that great. But I think the critic reviews for, Del Toro's Hellboys were like around 60 to 70. So I mean, you take that with a grain of salt, and I love the Del Toro versions. They were just more. They didn't quite. They mix them. They picked and choose what they wanted from the comics and stuff. So he kind of made his own story with him. Where this one, it does that, but it also varies very. It follows very heavily the Blood Queen storylines and stuff. So they do change a few things here and there, but overall, that's the main baddie. and if you have a villain that's called the Blood Queen, you better expect blood. So choosing that villain, that baddie that they got fight, it makes sense that yeah, of course this is gonna be R-rated, and they go full on R. I mean, they don't just do subtle, a couple words here and there, just some blood here and there that just barely pushed it over that R rating. They go pretty hardcore into it, and it's interesting to see a comic book movie go hard R because it's even a bit more gory in aspect. In certain places, it's a little bit more gory than like say Deadpool, um, but still, it's it's quite up there with the Deadpool movies if you want to compare it to like a hard R, or even like the old Blade movies, especially like Blade 2, which was pretty gory, I think, uh, compared to the other ones. But of course, that was Del Toro. So yeah, overall, I probably didn't say it too all at the beginning. I tried to get in the first minute, but there's a lot to talk about, and I do want to say right off the bat, it's a good movie. It's not complete waste of time and money. It does tell a very cool story. It does add this new group of people that a lot of people, if you've seen just the movies, you don't know of them. So you do get introduced to these characters pretty much all over again, which the only ones you know about from the previous ones is, of course, it's Hellboy and his father that helped raise him, but it is a different father-son relationship. So it's probably a more realistic relationship, honestly, granted the circumstances and everything. So it's pretty interesting to see what they did and just how it all came together. The guy who plays Hellboy is fine. I mean, he definitely has the attitude more of probably a teenager, early 20-year-old guy that's just like trying to find himself and just to take on the world literally, and doesn't give a shit about what other people think. So he he definitely works. I don't really care for the makeup too much. The thing with Del Toro, of course, I'm gonna just gonna make quite a bit of comparisons because this is kind of a reboot. If not, it is a reboot of the you know first series of Hellboy. So you're definitely gonna compare the differences. And uh, yeah, so the one thing Del Toro does is that he puts a lot of detail, very minor stuff. Just like the big thing that stuck out to me is Hellboy's Fist of Doom, his right hand of Doom. It's just even like if you don't actually see photo videos or of Hellboy's fist from the Del Toro movies, just in the movies you could tell there's a lot of detail going on, going even up to his arms, just the tattooing and stuff. Uh, just everything about Hellboy, there's something there, and just this look just makes him look completely different. And granted, of course, Ron Perlman does look different than the actor that goes in this Hellboy, so the facial features, of course, are different. Granted, of course, uh, Ron Perlman's Hellboy did definitely emote better with the makeup just because he was used to it, and his facial features just helped it, out even more compared to this guy, which I don't even know his name. I just know he's in Stranger Things. So yeah, Ooh, excuse me. But yeah, so Hellboy overall, it's weird that his Doomfist becomes more simplified and more rock, even looks metal-ish, not so much rock. Um, in this new Hellboy compared to Del Toro's, which looks like rock, and just the way it moves, especially it's just the sound effects that they give it every chance it moves. It's a big thing that's different. Just one major thing that's really different. Even the way that his horns are shaped down, even his hair, especially too. Like Del Toro's hair, it's always maintained. It's always cut back unless he's in a fight. Then it gets frizzled and let loose. But in here, his hair is just wild. Besides this like little ponytail that he always has, his little samurai cut ponytail that he always has in the back. But it's just wild and curly and messy and wavy. It's just he's more of a wild beast. Even the body wise, he doesn't have as much detail as far as like the tattooing and stuff that and carvements from his Doomfist onto his body. He is more hairy. He actually has a little spine hair to go with his. I mean, he does have goat legs and stuff in the comics, so kind of hints to it, but doesn't really focus it. He's just more human-like in here, just like the Del Toro, but he just has more hair overall, which okay, not really needed, but looks a little weird sometimes. But whatever, we'll go with it. It's more demon-like, of course. His gun, of course, he still has the big gun. He still has his, strength, his healing. Just overall, I definitely like the Ron Perlman Hellboy just because of his look and size and just the detail that went into his costume. Which, like I said, there's not going to be as much detailing in this one as compared to Del Toro's, just because Del Toro, that's just how he is. I saw one complaint about this new Hellboy movie that there's not a lot of practical effects, which there are. It's just they use mostly bodysuits and like the faces were usually computerized or to help them emote pretty much and move in a certain way compared to Del Toro's, which were all facial, actual physical makeup and stuff and animatronics. But it's definitely a little different, but still, the computer graphics are actually pretty good. So it does hold up pretty well. Uh, Two scenes that did really stuck out, but overall, the computer graphics did its job. They were not cheap. They were not too bad. Like I said, there are some pretty gory moments, but that was mostly come at towards the end. There is bloodshed, of course, from stabbings and bullet holes, and it's just, man, they went hard. There's some language here and there, and even some, sexual tension too as well. So there, it's definitely not a movie for kids. So don't take your movie for kids. Go rent some Hellboy, the one and two that Del Toro did. Do not take them to this one. They're gonna be traumatized. So you don't have the original cast of Liz and Abe Sapien backing up Hellboy here. He's pretty much on his own, and he picks up two new people, which are pretty nice, different people you get to see from the comic universe, and it works. It works really well the way they pick them up, and I don't want to spoil too much, but it's it was a cool story enough. Could have used a little less hopping around, a little more downtime, to draw, especially Hellboy's character. He definitely doesn't get as much character development as the previous Hellboy movies that Del Toro did, but it's enough. You do get the idea. He's pretty. He can be pretty deep like Del Toro did, but definitely he is a bit of a stereotype. So they went with the more of the stereotypical kind of style. So it was alright. Like I said, the music was actually pretty nice too. There was a lot actually a lot of music during like the action scenes and fight scenes and just traveling, and I just liked it. It worked. I didn't really feel like they just threw it in just to have it in, kind of like how like Suicide Squad. They just put the music in just so they could have music. They have the Warner Brother catalog. Why not use it up? So it's definitely not trying to mimic like Guardians of the Galaxy. They are very big on music and it works so well. And Suicide Squad, of course, tried to replicate that. Didn't quite work to its fullest. But Hellboy finds that nice little blend of music and quiet moments and just original music soundtracks. So it all works really. So um, like I said, the computer graphics, acting's really wow. Everything's pretty good. It's definitely not. It's 18 or whatever percent it's at right now. I would give it a solid 70. I would say. Granted, of course, the first Hellboys, I would definitely give it like a 90. So you take it as it is, but it's definitely worth it. If you like Hellboy at all, if you want to see an R-rated movie again, that's superpowers, comic book based, it's a good movie. Only 2 hours and like a minute, so it's not too long, not too short. Definitely feels like enough time. Of course, you can always use more, but for what it had to do, it did it pretty well. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel too chopped up. I saw there was like over a dozen producers or something like that on this film, so it looked like it went through a lot of hands, but it did doesn't. It looked like it was passed through a lot of hands, but it doesn't look like it did. So I don't know how they did it, but it didn't get screwed up. And I think that's the biggest compliment to this movie is that it didn't screw up as bad as people would thought for everything that happened. So it's a good movie, solid movie. You could skip it from the theaters. You don't have to see it unless you're pretty big on, like I said, the comic book based movies. But overall, pretty good. It's definitely not a dumpster fire. Uh, so that was it for my double feature for today. No more reviews until Avengers Endgame. Even that review might be a little late in the night or in the day, the next day early, because I might see it twice in that day. So we'll see how it goes, because 3 hours is a long time. So um, I do want to mention about Hellboy. There is a mid-credit scene. There is also an end-credit scene at the very end. So you can stick around for that. Definitely, they're trying to set up some sequels, and we'll see what happens. So, already movies usually are pretty hard to get money for, so it's definitely not going to be something that's going to make money, I think. But until next time, guys, later.